Jesus was a queer person. And I don't say that Jesus was a queer person because I know or even care who Jesus slept with. That doesn't matter to me. I know that Jesus was a queer person because Jesus lived questions throughout his entire life, and he used those questions and his own curiosity and his own sense of the Holy Spirit that was moving through his body to reach out to the most marginalized and say, you can change your mind. You can stretch yourself far beyond the confines that empire has imposed on you, and you can become far larger than empire tells you that you can be. That, to me, is queerness. Queerness doesn't mean that you are specifically gay, that you're specifically lesbian, that you're specifically any sexuality. It means that you are willing to reach inside yourself and say, there is a hum between the me that I know I am and the expansive horizon that God is telling me I can become, and I can actively embody question asking in such a way that I can queer myself as a verb, becoming ever more and more a larger, more compassionate, more empathetic, more justice-minded version of myself, as long as I actively every day choose to be. So, we can resurrect that Jesus, we can resurrect that queer Jesus because he's already there. Before the Roman Empire co-opted Christianity as their official religion, there were just scrappy, constantly queering themselves people who were desperately trying to keep alive this message of unfettered creativity, radical social justice seeking, and expansive spirituality that Jesus had instilled in them before he was murdered by the Roman Empire. And so if we can get back to those first years when those terrified people were just desperately trying to hold themselves together and continue to tell the story of this basically queer performance artist, activist, rabbi that was changing their lives, changing their hearts and minds and spirits. If we can get back to that moment where they were in those terrified moments and desperately trying to say, how do we hold on to this story? How do we bring more and more people into this story? Not because we need to save their souls, but instead because we need to change the world and we need all of us in order to do that, then Jesus is already resurrected. That's why Christian nationalism is so afraid of that Jesus and so afraid of us, because the story is actually ours. The story that Christian nationalism tells isn't even sort of part of the story. It was just the story that they've created so that they can lean into fear and xenophobia and racism, which is exactly what the Roman Empire was trying to do as they co-opted in the 4th century